let's start, and thank you very much for coming. So, my name is Karen. I'm a developer, not data scientist, so probably the first thing to say. And I start as a game developer, and then joined startup called Teamable, worked there for 5 years, then worked a little bit at EPAM with Epic Games, and then joined Streamlit at previous year. And Streamlit acquired by Snowflake. So now I'm software engineer at Snowflake. Let's see who's listening. So the first question probably is who already used Streamlit? Okay. So mixed. I hope that after this talk, this number will be increased. So who is work with data every day? Who is data scientist? Let's say in Jupyter Notebook with R or whatever. Cool. Yeah. So this is a right place to talk. Okay. So the story behind Streamlit. And by the way, Streamlit is presented to wide auditory and became the open source announcements happened at 2019 at PyData conference. It was PyData LA, I guess. So I like that thing. And so what problem basically we solve? Usually, the usual day of data scientist, like ML researcher, whatever, someone who works with data, you probably work in your Jupyter Notebook, right? And you write something, you explore your data, you have some results, and then you need to share that knowledge with someone, with your stakeholders, with your students, with your colleagues, whoever. At that point, it's sometimes the project just finished at that point. So okay, I do something in my Jupyter Notebook, I have answers for my questions, that's it. But more often, you have to prepare something to show, let's say, to stakeholders. And at that exact point, you find yourself with writing some React, Flask code, I don't know, Fast API maybe. And this is, so what's the problem with that, in my opinion, and once again, I'm not a data scientist, I'm like a software engineer. But the state of mind when you work with data and the state of mind when you develop just the application, it's a little different thing. So it's difficult to, change that context and start to think all about HTTP codes, callbacks, or whatever. So, and it's usually not something you want to do. But anyway, maybe you just learn how to write some Flask code, some HTML, maybe JavaScript, and then you present, you create something that you can then show. You wrap your model or whatever. But yes, then it's became unmaintainable, because if you need to add new feature, you have to learn new things and more deep going into becoming web engineer instead of being data scientist. Not so good. Okay, sometimes in some big companies, or I don't know, there are special teams, like tooling teams, whom you can ask, hey, I have this my shiny project. Could you please create application or something around that? And that's the case. For example, I worked for Epic Games in exact that tooling team when they need not for data scientists, but for other things that they need to automate, create the internal things. And it also works. You have another team of backend engineers and another team of front-end engineers, and you just maybe create your specs and give them book their time and then create for you your application. But it's still a problem because at that time you have dependency from them, and that people, they usually are very, very busy. And let's say after 1 month they go to another project because it's not you, and then you need to change something, to tweak something, and you couldn't do that, right? So you still in that unmaintainability hole. Besides that, there often happens when they're like, wars for resources when different departments, etc. So how great it will be if you could like create that application and share it with stakeholders, with colleagues, and like anyone with whom you want to share, like yourself, without having to write a lot of backend code, front-end code, and learning all that things, and just working with your data. Similarly, how you work in Jupyter Notebook, let's say, with the same like mindset. And yeah, this is a bad part, and this is, yeah. So that's what the main thing, the main problem that we try to solve, because sharing your results, your data science work with others is hard. Sure, you can share your Jupyter notebook, but it means you should share that with someone who also technical, who could install it, who could run it, who could have all that environment in their notebook. And if it's like just, I don't know, self company, maybe it could be a little bit more problematic, which means then decisions that probably like should be data driven became just intuition driven, or you have to go through all that layers of like adding more and more people, manage them, organize them, having all that teams that could prepare something. And another thing is that like feedback cycle is for data heavy apps is very short, because you create something and then maybe someone asks you to change or tweak or add something else, and it's very critical that you could do that yourself without asking other people or spending like a lot of hours at internet googling for answer how to upload an image or whatever. Yeah, so spreading data knowledge is hard, sharing your work with others is hard, and getting from data to action is hard. Meet Streamlit. Yeah, so what is Streamlit? Streamlit is an open source library that I guess it's open source for almost 3 years, that allow you to create that application that we'll show demo a little bit later, with the same like very simple from top to down approach. When you write your Python script, and then magically it transforms to interactive web applications. And you can basically create anything because you just wrote your Python script. It's not, some site constructor with predefined stuff or builder or whatever. You wrote your Python script, which means, we will see it a little bit later. Yeah, and we have all that widgets, and they are interactive, so you can use them, and you also can like use all that Python ecosystem that already exists, because you just run your Python script and anything could be imported and run and whatever. So the Bokeh, Matplotlib, TensorFlow, like Pandas, NumPy, whatever. Yeah. So like 3 main things that the base is that this is just a Python script. And we have, of course, widgets, but that widgets, you can think about them just about like variables. So you can write x equal st.widget from 0 to 100, and then the st.slider, and then slider appears in your site. And then you change your slider value and that exact value there in variable x in your script. And of course, you can reuse data, and computations will provide you a caching primitives, so you shouldn't, since we already run your Python script, you can just mark that part. For example, loading models, it can be just done once, and then you just use it. So yeah, let's see. So this is what I say. You can just import it and write it, and this is the app. Or yeah, or you can add some interactivity with st.slider, and then this is how it works. And as I said, we have caching primitives. So if you need to create to cache or keep database connection, you can use it as singleton, and will not recreate data base connection each time. Or if you have to memoize a big chunk of data, you also can use experimental memo, and we also have old st.cache primitive. So, and since it is just a Python script, you can connect it or get data from whatever you want. This is just a tutorials like how to get data from public cloud sheet or from Snowflake or from MongoDB, but basically you can do it with any source, right? And yes, here we also allow you to manage your secrets. So if you have secrets, let's say credentials to connect to your database, etc., it's also here with just st.secret, you can access them and you can store them in separate file. Yes, and we have layout primitives, so you can customize your application with customs them. We have a set of built-in components, but there are also ability to extend, and a lot of people write their own custom components, and you can use them. You can write your component if you need something custom. So this is like a first part, and the second part will be a demo. So do you have any questions for this part? Yep. I will repeat the question.
I saw probably you use Markdown language in text to format strings, aren't you?
Frankly saying, we have some dependencies, and we obviously render Markdown. So you can in st.write you can use Markdown. I'm not sure what exact library we use for.
But can you go back to this? No, different direction, I guess.
Different direction. Okay.
Yep, stop. Here, is it Markdown st.write and then you put string? It's like a Markdown.
So st.write is just a basic. It's like print or console log. But you also can put
Markdown languages. I see.
You also can use Markdown in st.write, and we correctly parse it and.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
We will see that in demo a little bit later. Yeah. Any other questions at this point? Yep.
So I've been wondering about this following case where, so like these kind of solutions are more customized, right? So because you have the control over what you develop and what visualizations you can use, but you need to write some code, and it's hard to convince enterprise that actually this is better to use than Tableau given the cost that it incurs along with it. And so like other than the cost of time for developing the charts and everything, how would you convince that, well, this solution specifically is more scalable and like superior to like commercial products like Tableau?
So see, I guess the Tableau is like a business analytic tool, right? And
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think we have a little bit different use cases. They are overlap a little bit, but here you wrote like Python code and you create very custom. Like basically, you can just a little bit modify your Jupyter notebook and have your web application. So imagine, like, think about Streamlit. I like that analogy, like Notion. For example, we in our company we love Notion and we use it for documents, for text specs or whatever. So this is a tool that allows you like effectively collaborate. Of course, probably it's not the best idea to develop high-load site and just use Notion for that. Some people do that, for example, but It's more for demos, for experiments, for sharing your thoughts with stakeholders, non-technical peoples. And Tableau, I guess, mostly you there just clicking on buttons. Here you write a code, but you write the code in that manner that you used to write, like just simple Python scripting, not all that specific things that maybe you're not interested even to know. Okay, yep. So let's start with writing code. And
also, does it work in Jupyter or only scripts?
so what we do, we allow you to create interactive web applications, which means in Jupyter, it's more like your working environment where you just play with data, etc. After you have some results, you should have something, for example, Flask application, right, to have a site, a web server. So we ask you to write script, but in very similar manner. So I think we can one. Okay. Let me show you. Let's create a new project from scratch. I will show you how simple is that. mkdir like live demo. And let's open this library. Oh, sorry. We are here. This is completely empty directory. Okay, so let's create a file, Python file, called it app.py or whatever you want. And let's create a virtual environment. You can use anything, dependency management tool like Poetry, pipfile. I will use just virtualenv because it's the simplest thing, right? So let's create virtual environment, activate it. And install Streamlit. Okay. And import Streamlit. Oh. 1 second, just all these scaffolding things. St.write hello world. And so you can just say Streamlit run app.py. And we have this application. So if I change something, for example, add markdown. So it's changed. And you can easily add interactivity with like just, let's say, as I say, x equal st.slider. Choose x or x, just x. Or whatever this custom label from 0 to 100, 42 by default. and let's write x squared. Yeah, so we have this slider, and if you change something, you can see the square number here. So if you change it, like works. So the way how we do that, as I say, we just rerun it from top to bottom, which means you can think about your application as just like normal Python script. Okay, so let's create something a little bit more difficult, maybe some image processing app. I have prepared app, but I will build it with you, and at some point I just reuse a small parts from there. So first of all, we need some import sources, and let's say we want to be able to upload our image, like do something interesting with it, and from camera, from custom URL, or from just file uploader. So we have that image. So let's say we want to have image bytes, right? And we can create st.file uploader, upload the file. So type PNG or JPEG or JPG. And as I said, here in Streamlit, widgets are just variables, so you can assign them the value to variable. So you can say image bytes equal to st file uploader. Or let's do a little bit more complex layout. Let's say that we want to have a radio button, like and it can be URL, camera, or file uploader. And let's say if and input type, and if input. After you start using Copilot, you know it's very difficult to. If input type is URL, let's just render a text input. So we'll say URL equal st.text input, and if URL, so we need also install requests here. This is a library that allows you to make like network calls, and we say image bytes equal probably I need to install it, right? So after importing it, I can say request.get URL.content. And elif if input type is, let's say, camera. So the value of this radio button is just one of these options that we provide as a list. So makes sense, I guess. Yeah. So if camera, let's render camera input, selfie, and let's assign image bytes variable to it, and if input type is file uploader, let's just say that image bytes is equal output of file uploader. So basically this line here. and let's for now just draw this image. So let's see. Oh, let me enable, I guess, yeah. Okay, so no problem.
The image file is uninitialized, I guess, so you can't draw image with image bytes.
Yep. So if image bytes is not none, let's draw it. Otherwise, let's show a warning like please upload an image. So now you have these controls, right? And you can use URL, camera, or file uploader to upload your image. So we upload it. This is Ararat from Nakhchivan, by the way. Or you can use your camera to make a selfie. So see, with camera, we have some problems with not render it because, let's see, we have image bytes.
Is it bytes though?
Yeah, so we should say, let's say camera input. We could say, not camera input, but whatever. Selfie. We return file like object, but to get bytes, you need to say image bytes is equal selfie dot get value, I guess. Yep. So let's try again. Yep. Now you have it. Oh, 5 minutes. And the same thing that we did, or we should did, like if selfie is not none, and same thing here, like uploaded file, right? And if uploaded file is not none, now it should work. Okay, the good news is that now you have your image bytes, and you can do with that image bytes whatever you want. You can use any like transformation, like pass it to any model or whatever. And I will show a little bit more complex example based on this. Let's just hide this part of UI. I want to show you that we have sidebar and like easily you can put all this UI into st.sidebar, and so now it lives here. So you can, so yep, and this is resizable. We add this feature like literally yesterday at our yesterday release. Yep. And let me show you, since I have only 5 minutes, maybe a little bit more complex example of the same app. So let me stop running it. And now I can run my Streamlit app. Or let's use old version for now. The same thing, Streamlit run, just the name of your script. And if you look at the script, it's the same thing that we did. Is just have all that UI to upload your image, and if it exists, we have another models.py file where we import models from Keras, so basically just VGG and MobileNet, and we define functions to load models and put them under the, I need probably like more 5 minutes, under the experimental singleton. So it will be like each time you do some interactions, we will not reload your model. It's like safely we return that singleton of that model, one for VGG, one for MobileNet, and just organize all necessary utility things in that dictionary. Like for VGG, we have that model, the function, their own function for preprocess and for the code predictions, and the same thing for MobileNet. So here, what we did after having that image bytes, we just have another select box. Then you can choose the model, and after that we load that model, prepare image with corresponding function that we use from that dictionary, call predict and receive predictions data frame, and draw it basically. So let me show. So we need a little bit time. Yep. So the same UI that we just like create, but now you can after uploading your photo, let's see. Now you can choose the model because we have 2 of them, and so MobileNet said that this is more likely safety thing, and VGG said that this is a water bottle. So yeah, VGG wins this time. But what I try to say that how easily you can create applications that you can just have more interactive things, and even after that, really you can. We also have with 1 second. We can say columns equal st.columns2, and for e in supported models keys, instead of using like for model name, right, and let's have e to iterate over there, and we can say with column, this is another layout primitive. You can render that to models side by side. And let's remove this thing. Yeah. So now after uploading an image, you can see the predictions side by side. And this is easy, like you just create 2 columns, and you, like you can here create, like let's say left and right column, left and right. Probably this will a little bit more understood. You can create as many columns as you want. Columns. Yep. So yeah, that's just one example in reality, we have a lot of widgets, so buttons, primitives for working with maps, all type of like date input, time input, select boxes, multi-select, whatever. And the killer feature is they can just use them, and then from that input use in your Python script to pass it to your model, your data frame, and then render that data frame with Streamlit just with one line. Yep. Yep, this is an example. The code will be in GitHub repo. And yeah, then we have Streamlit Cloud. You can deploy these things. As I said, this is a completely open source, so you can deploy it whatever you want. Amazon instance, Heroku, but we also provide our cloud where you can deploy just with one click. And then we take care for scaling, monitoring, and all that things. And you can easily share it with people. Yep. Please check out gallery where we have a lot of very different. So this is just example of image classification, but you can organize, like create whatever you want, like just go crazy. It can be everything. As I said, I'm software engineer, I'm not data scientist. Yep, and remember that this is like, you just install it with pip install Streamlit. You don't need any other things to get started. Yep, that's it. Thank you very much. Questions?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is really cool, and it's gonna make life a lot easier for a lot of people especially within the teams. I was wondering if it has an API as well for not just like human-driven.
Not for building UI, but building endpoints.
Right.
No, we're focusing on building UI. You can customly like define your things, but basically the output is widgets, and you can just build your interactive web application. So if you use, your target is like building API, custom API, most probably you can use Streamlit, but it will have the same amount of additional work that if you use, let's say, Fast API or Flask or Django REST framework.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, there are several options from the visualization libraries to choose from, right? Like matplotlib or Altair, those that you mentioned. I wonder whether there is one specifically that has the best integration, that works best with Streamlit.
So see, for widgets, for outputs, we support like some set of that. As you mentioned, you can use Altair charts, you can use PyData, you can use whatever. They also, like, that's we like officially support, that's part of a library. For example, you can call, I'm not remember, but let's say, and render that matplotlib graph on your site. But there are also custom components. For example, if you want to use a grid, we have a custom component that's maintained by community. And there are a lot of people who use that. But everything that we like use inside Streamlit, we like officially support. Also, custom component, that's just a third-party component. You can write your own thing with just a little bit of HTML and Python will allow you to extend it. But difficult for me to say like what we support best. We support like many of them. But the most important, like bokeh charts or anything. But the biggest advantage is that, so at display part, there are, let's say, some maybe limitations. But on processing, you can use anything because this is just on your Python script. So you just import whatever you want and do with your data also whatever you want. So yeah, that's the answer.
Thank you.
Yes?
From the beginning of your presentation, I've got an image that this framework best suited for demonstrating the result of data scientist work for a team. Let's say for business users who can play with model in a native for them ways through UI.
Or adjust some parameters.
Yes, and can see if they if the model might meet their expectation. Is it right vision of the framework?
That's one of main use cases when you share with stakeholders your work and allow them to play with that work. That could be not just, let's say, like prediction models, but visualization of your data. We also support a lot of types of charts, like you can use like any chart library, any major chart library, to just do some visualization or like for annotations for whatever you want. So we not like narrow our use case for that any specific part, but basically use Streamlit to share your work as a data scientist with other maybe not so technical people, just to present them interactive web applications. And the only your imagination is limit what you can create with that and how you want to show it. Any other questions? Nope. Thank you very much.